What good is CEO care when we talk to ourselves like the unpaid intern who's about to get fired? If you're anything like me, and most of us, you've probably fueled yourself at some point with the high-octane gas of self-criticism. Today's episode is all about radical self-compassion. Let's be real. It's like pouring rocket fuel into a lawnmower. It gets you going fast, but it also burns out your engine. As creators, leaders, and high achievers, we can become masters of using phrases like, come on, get it together, or that's not good enough, to whip ourselves into action. But here's the cost. That kind of fuel is unsustainable. It corrodes your spirit, saps your joy, and leaves you spinning in cycles of burnout, performance anxiety, and self-hate. Bottom line, our self-talk has a lot to do with our well-being. And personally, I'm a fan of clean energy. In the environment, sure, but also in leaders. Enter radical self-compassion. Think of self-compassion as the gentle, steady wind that keeps your sailboat moving forward. Radical self-compassion, though, is like swapping your flimsy paper sail for a durable, weatherproof one. It's not just about being kind to yourself when it's easy. It's extending yourself grace even when you feel undeserving. Kristen Neff, one of the leading voices on self-compassion, emphasizes this. It's not about giving yourself a free pass, but treating yourself like you would a dear friend who's struggling. And let me tell you, friends, I've struggled. As a life coach, singer, and mom, I've had moments where the inner critic has staged a hostile takeover of my mind. Picture this. I'm trying to write a podcast episode, like the one you're listening to right now. And suddenly, the voice in my head says, there isn't one original thought in your head, is there? What you're saying has been said by hundreds of others on bigger platforms with better credentials. Literally no one cares. I call that voice the bulldozer. The bulldozer is always ready to demolish the fresh scaffolding that builds any new idea into a plan for me and tears it down before anyone else can. But here's the thing about the bulldozer. It doesn't make me better. It just makes me afraid to take risks, to create freely, or to fail. And failure, that's just the tuition for success. And I'm going to be real with you. I wanted to make this podcast and create a thriving YouTube channel for close to a decade now. And to be fair and practice a little radical self-compassion, I walked the journey that I needed to take to get myself here, to this point, doing what I've always envisioned for myself. 10 years ago, I launched my YouTube channel with vlogs and singing performances while I was still a professional opera singer. And one company fired me because they didn't want any hint of negative press for their opera house. Before we dig even deeper together, I want to make sure you've grabbed your free copy of The Growth Without Burnout Blueprint, a guided journal I created just for creatives like you who are building bold, beautiful lives and businesses without losing themselves to the grind. This is your rhythm reset, your space to reflect, realign, and remember who you are while you grow. If you've ever felt like your ambition and your nervous system are at odds, this is for you. Inside, you'll find powerful prompts, check-ins, and mindset shifts to help you grow with courage, creativity, and clarity without burning out in the process. It's totally free, it brings you back home to yourself, and it was made with you in mind. Head over to ellenbrowencoaching.kit.com/no-burnout-blueprint or tap the link in the show notes to get yours today. All right, let's get back to the episode. That hurt, but it also fueled my bulldozer who told me I really should just quit posting. Years later, I relaunched my YouTube when I started life coaching, and right as my channel started gaining traction after 6 consistent months, I just stopped posting. No reason, just stopped. Years later, I recorded an entire season of a podcast where I coached clients on air, and I called it Big Ass Breakthroughs. It never saw the light of day. And most recently, I made a podcast with my lifelong friend called Dog Moms Do Business instead of starting my own, so that I could have the accountability to keep going when it got hard because my friend was always there recording with me. We did the show for close to 2 years, and earlier this year, we ended it to make room for the creative projects that were more earnestly calling to our hearts. And here we are. I'm making the podcast and growing the YouTube channel with the content I have always wanted to make, but that my bulldozer has very convincingly persuaded me to avoid until now. It's scary. I'm making all sorts of mistakes in my recordings. I'm using all of the wrong equipment right now since I just moved and I don't know where any of my good equipment is packed. I'm inefficient with my processes and procedures, and honestly, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But with the power of radical self-compassion, I am fueled to keep going. The bulldozer hasn't plowed down this scaffolding, and I won't allow it because my self-compassion has made me resilient to its forces. Radical self-compassion lets us fail forward. It reminds us that mistakes are not verdicts on our worth, but stepping stones to growth. It's also what allows us to detach our self-worth from our productivity. This is crucial for creators because when you're running on self-loathing, success becomes the ultimate validation. But with self-compassion, success becomes a natural byproduct of a well-loved soul. It's the difference between planting seeds in rich, nourished soil versus barren ground. And building off yesterday's episode that was all about how the path to consistency starts with self-care, or CEO care, as I believe we creators need to relate to it. Self-compassion is the path to building the kind of self-respect we need to show ourselves care and make our needs a priority. How will we care for someone if we don't respect them? And how can we respect them if we speak to them the way that our inner critics speak to us? The answer? We train our inner speaking. So how do we do this? As with all inner paradigm shifts, notice the voice of your inner critic. Give it a name, like the bulldozer, the editor, the gremlin, or coach asshole, whatever you like. Then imagine responding to that voice the way you'd comfort a child who has just had a tough day. Would you yell at them? No. You'd say, "It's okay. I see you. I'm here with you." So say that to yourself. Show up for yourself as you'd parent, and embrace the big feelings without judgment. Second, give yourself permission to create imperfectly. Remember that taking risks is a courageous act outside of our comfort zones. Your radically self-compassionate inner voice says, it's safe to make mistakes. You must start as a work in progress to become a masterpiece. Lastly, remember you don't need to earn your own love. The radical part of radical self-compassion lies in its unconditionality. You deserve compassion simply because you exist. You're as lovable picking your nose on your couch as you are standing on a stage speaking to thousands. Remind yourself, I love you, always. When we stop shaming ourselves to be better, we actually build greater resilience and diminish the potency of our fear of failure. So what does all of this have to do with CEO care, you might ask? Or you might not care. That's okay. But I'll tell you anyway. Our capacity to care for ourselves is a direct reflection of our capacity to care for others and vice versa. To me, radical self-compassion is what puts the care in self-care. And if you're curious about how to step into your conscious CEO era by leading from your core values, tune into your next episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, please show your support by rating and reviewing in your app of choice. It would truly mean the world to me to hear from you.